last night, and that was pretty popular for something that was at, well, like 1 or 2 in the morning. So with that said, comment in the chat here, and I will answer some of your questions. Let me just check how many people are actually watching. Okay, now there's a slight delay with everything, so you guys are just seeing it now. Okay, so with that, we got yesterday. We got news that Roar's not going to be turned into the RMC we thought it was going to be. We thought it was going to be like, well, it's still an RMC, but it's not Roar. It's nothing along the lines of Roar. It's the Joker, and I actually did predict this a while back that this might be the case. They're just going to drop the theme. I'm just going to get down to it. You guys want it to be Roar for some reason. I personally hate that name. I just absolutely hate it. There's nothing they could work on to make that name work. I think it's a good decision that they went with Joker. I actually predicted they would call it Batman and have either blue or yellow tracks, or the way that they did it now with the 1 track blue and 1 track yellow, and then have blackish grayish supports, kind of like Wicked Cyclone has, and then have the regular steel cross beams, the steel cross beams. I think that would have been cool. Better than Joker, I think. I'm a little disappointed that they did Joker, mostly because just because there's no Batman ride. It's a Batman villain, but there's no Batman ride. I always thought that was weird. I always thought it was weird with Bizarro having no Superman ride at New England. I always thought that was weird. I'm glad they're changing that back, because that drives me crazy when they have a villain, but they don't have the superhero to it. Also, we got Total Mayhem. I'm going to say my honest opinion about this one. Disappointed. Completely disappointed. It ruins... The fact that they just got a clone that they built last year ruins the value of those rides. It ruins the value of Batman the Ride at Fiesta Texas, because that was a brand new one of its kind now. There's nothing unique about it anymore because it's going to have a clone. Same with that. They might as well not build it because it's just as unique as the one at Fiesta Texas. It's just as good. It's going to be the exact same thing. Like, if I had Fiesta Texas as a home park, I wouldn't make the trip out to Great Adventure just to ride that when I have it there. I would have rather seen them add just at least one more hill, just to differentiate it. But I do like the color scheme. I do like the theme. I like how they're going with the full throttle theme. I think that is the best thing they could have done. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up that one. There's nothing much to say. It's a clone. People are mad. I'm mad. Theme is pretty good. Good area of the park. Then we got the New Revolution. That is a bit of a disappointment to me. I actually think this whole 2016 is a disappointment. Except for Joker. Joker's pretty good. I'm not going to lie. Joker's pretty good. Joker's going to be like the Wicked Cyclone of the West. I'm not going to say it's better or worse, but I still have mixed opinions on how I feel the ride layout is, but I think overall it's going to be fantastic. Possibly the best ride in California when it opens. But with that said, disappointed with most of the 2016 announcements. Disappointed with Magic Mountains because they desperately need a flat ride and they deny getting a flat ride. They just will not get a flat ride. Except for Lex Luthor Drop of Doom. But this 2016 could have been a great year for them to get it. And they just decided not to. I'm all for the New Revolution. I think it's great that they're refurbishing it, but I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get to see any flat rides with it. I think flat rides would really improve that park, and I think most of you can agree. But I don't know. I don't think that the park, it's going to benefit the park that much. I don't feel like people are going to come in just to ride Revolution without the shoulder restraints. I think, yeah, some people may, like, locals from Valencia and Santa Clarita and hardcore coaster enthusiasts who rode it back in the day before it had the over-the-shoulder restraints. But other than that, I don't think people really care. I don't think that was a wise investment for the park just for that year. I think they could have got just at least a Larson flying scooter. Is that too much to ask for? So yeah, that I find disappointing. The two Justice Leagues, I think, pretty good. Once again, I know it's the one in Chicago. It's in a weird spot in the park, not near the rest of anything else. I don't know that park very well. I've never been to it, so I don't know exactly what that's like. I'm sure if you have that as a home park or you've been before, you're probably mad. But since I haven't been, I'm not going to comment on it. Mexico, I'm interested to see that. I think that's a great addition to that park. So I'm assuming it will be in Spanish for those who are wondering. I feel like that's good to get that. To know that it's not only in America, you can get it outside the United States. So you don't have to completely travel to the U.S. to find it. I think it's a great addition. Same with what they did with the last rides that they got. The last few years at Six Flags Mexico have received some of the best rides in the Six Flags chain. I have to admit, like Medusa, mostly Medusa. What else? There's the 4 Larson loopers, and people are saying, "Oh yeah, they're not calling them coasters." They are calling them coasters. I'm sorry to say, they're not as bold with the statement though this year. They say it's a thrilling ride, and then at the end they'll say they said it's a coaster, but they're not. They're not. They're still not. But I love the rides. I love Larson loopers. I actually think that would be a better fit if they just got a Larson looper and did nothing else to the Magic Mountain, and didn't call it a coaster. But I love Larson loopers. Been on Carnival versions, which are smaller and much more rough. And then I've been on the in-park models like Daredevil Chaos. I'm not going to add the coaster at the end for obvious reasons, and I absolutely love it. I would ride that thing all day long. I love it. I think they're great additions to parks. And with that said, I'm going to read the comments. Let's see, I've missed a lot. Let's see, we got quite a few people. It says only 2 people watching, but I know there's more since I'm seeing a lot of people commenting. Not getting any real good questions yet, so I'll continue with the Six Flags lineup. Okay, so let's see. There's Over Texas. I think Over Texas edition is absolutely spectacular. I don't even think people realize how spectacular it is until it's going to be built. For one, they're getting a huge pendulum. This pendulum is huge. It's massive. It's the same one that they have at Kennywood, Black Widow. It's going to be the exact same model, which I hear and what I've seen from pictures is a pretty big ride. Second, they're retheming another ride. I think it's a Trachea, or however you pronounce those. It's just going to be rethemed to Harley Quinn Spinsanity, which is... It's nice, but not the main attraction. The main one I'm looking for is the Enterprise version 2. That's what that is. It's that new Huss Enterprise, the floorless Enterprise. I knew it as soon as they announced it, and I don't think people realized what it was. It's the new floorless Enterprise. What is that? I think that's called Catwoman's Whip. I'm not sure which section of the park this is going in exactly. I'm assuming... Well, actually, I don't know the areas of the park because I have not been there either. I've only been to the Six Flags in California. I've only been really to like Cedar Fair parks outside California. And And then the other Texas park, Fiesta, Texas, great additions as well. 3 new flat rides. They're getting a Larson Looper. Love them. They're getting a Zamperla Disco, similar to the Pipe Scream, which they're not calling a coaster, unlike Cedar Point. What else? What else are they getting? I forgot what else it is. It's some other small flat ride, but it's nice. And it's going in the boardwalk section. I think it's a very nice addition to that park. I love Zamperla Discos. I'm hoping it's the Pipe Scream cars, but I don't think it will be. I think it's going to be the uncomfortable saddle restraints, which I'm not looking forward to. But other than that, I think it looks pretty cool. Anyone notice, though, that they changed the name to Hurricane Force 5 or something like that instead of Gale Force like they trademarked? Because I think another park took that. I find that interesting, though. But anyway, what else we have? We have La Ronde. Yes, that park is getting a weird flat ride. I thought it was it was a clone of Power Surge at Luna Park. I actually posted it last night for a few minutes. And then I actually saw that La Ronde actually posted a video of it, and it doesn't look anything like it, actually. It's a small swing almost, but you get to control the way it spins, almost like a tornado. What was I saying? Sorry, I look at the comments for a second, for a second, and I forget what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's kind of like those carnival rides, the tornadoes. Very similar to those, but you actually control the spinning a little bit more, I think. It's like a joystick. It's hard to tell because the video was flashy and there's bright lights and everything, and it was edited. I don't know what the ride is from, where they filmed it. It was an indoor place. Maybe it was from IAPA. I don't know. But it looks interesting. I think that will be a great addition. They're getting Phoenix, which is a really cool name for a very decent ride. I feel like they should save that name for something else, something more thrilling, but nonetheless, still good. I wish they would have set that to Magic, honestly, instead of doing the Revolution revamp. Let's see. And then, La Vampire Backwards. I hear that one is the most intense Batman clone. I don't know why it is. People say they actually don't want it backwards. That's what I've heard, because it's so intense. So for me, I like intensity. I love something that will make me pass out. So I think that would be great. Yes, Scream Source. I will talk about Grease Lightning. I think that's absolutely awesome. I'm not gonna lie. That is an awesome name. I think that's an awesome theme. They're going with that lightning rod theme, that accelerator theme. I love that. I actually think this park is underrated. I shouldn't be saying that because I haven't been, but from what I've seen, I've seen Google Street images of it, and I've moved around the park, and it actually looks like a pretty nice park, I have to say. Yeah, their coasters are lacking, but I feel like it's a more family-ish park. So I think a Larson Looper fits because they're not super thrilling, yet they're in that level of Boomerang and Steamin' Demon kind of thrilling. So I think that will be a good addition for that park. Superman Low Ride. That's huge, I think. The fact that they're doing that. They're not getting new cars, sadly. That's what I've heard. People thought they were getting new cars, and they're not. So they're taking out the Bizarro theme. They're not calling it Ride of Steel. And I was actually watching the coaster guy, that's Kurt Dolan, if you didn't know. I was watching Kurt Dolan and Greg talk about, on a live stream last night, about of why they didn't call it Superman Ride of Steel anymore. They had an interesting point because of the accident on a similar ride that used to be from a Six Flags park, and it's now not a Six Flags. Ride of Steel at I I can't pronounce that park's name right. Darien Lake, is that it? Do I have that right? Yeah, they had a war veteran who didn't have legs. They let him on the ride, and because the lap bar didn't really cover anything, he flew out and died. So they made a good point. I think that's why they don't want to name it Ride of Steel, because it's close to that area, that near where that park is. So I think Ride of Steel would be a bad choice. But I also think Superman the Ride is a pretty bad choice too. At least even just Superman sounds better than Superman the Ride. Anyway, I think that's great, though, that they're changing it back, giving a world-class coaster more love than it already has. It's voted, number 1 or number 2, and always, number 1 or number 2 in, top 10s, usually. Usually behind Millennium, sadly. But, yeah, great. I hear it's a great ride, airtime filled, one of the best coasters in the world. They're also getting a Larson Looper, great fit. I think Larsons are great for any park. I mean, unless your park is filled with flat rides and has no coasters. But I think Larsons will be a good fit anywhere. The thing I'm sad though is they said I heard rumors that they were going to replace Larson Loopers, instead of buying new Larsons, they were going to get Zamperla Air Races, and they didn't do that. I'm sad. I wanted one of those near me. Well, actually, none of them would have been near me, because all the Larson Loop locations seem to be on the East Coast. Oh yeah, and then St. Louis, they have Fireball also. That's another Larson. I think that park deserves it. Because they got Justice League, that was a pretty big expansion. I think they could have got a water slide. I think that would have fit that park a little bit, since the last one they got was Bonsai. Oh, same with Hurricane Harbor. I think it's almost their time to get another water slide. That Hurricane Harbor in LA is one of the most neglected water parks ever, but it's so nice. I love it. It's a very nice water park, actually. It's much nicer than the adjacent park, Magic Mountain. I think it's run much better. Food is even better. Food at Magic is pretty good, but food at Hurricane is fantastic. Their nachos beat out the ones at Magic, for sure. I have to get those every time, even though my dining pass doesn't work there, and I could just cross the street and go there. I always have to get the nachos there. But yeah, they went 13 years without a water slide, a good water slide. Tornado, they got in 2003, and then they didn't get... wait, was it 13 years? No, it was 11 years. Yeah, 11. I think it was 11. So yeah, Tornado, I think, was 03. Then they went completely, blank for 11 years, except for, some small stuff like Splash Island, which is a pretty awesome play area, but it's not what you really want from that park. Finally, 2014 comes, and they get Bonsai Pipelines, which is a fantastic slide. Or fantastic slides, because there's 2 of them. I think they need something else, something unique that California doesn't have. California just got a water coaster, so definitely not a water coaster, but something like Kamikazes, the big half pipes. They call them Mega Wedgies sometimes. They have different names. Yeah, one of those would be great, I think. There's a lot of space because Flashback is right behind Hurricane. I think next year they'll get a water slide, and Magic Mountain probably will get Batman Backwards again. And no new coaster, probably. What am I saying? Magic Mountain's, of course, getting a coaster. They always do. But I hope they don't. I don't want them to get a coaster. I'm, sick of coasters now. Literally, if Magic Mountain stays my home park, I will get, more coaster credits than Rob Alvery in, a few years. I mean, not literally, but... if that's what it feels like, because they're getting so many coasters. What else have I not... Oh, Georgia! Six Flags Over Georgia. That's a fantastic addition. I think that's amazing. I think it's amazing that they're retheming the whole area to Justice League. I think we're going to see that expand to other Six Flags parks next year. I'm assuming we'll get two 2 parks doing that next year. I think they're testing it this year to see how popular it is, which I think it will be a huge success because superheroes are their big thing. Same with Looney Tunes, but they only have Looney Tunes are for the younger kids, and superheroes are for the coasters to sound cool. But also, the superheroes are kind of kid-friendly too, so I'm glad to see that come into effect. I actually think Discovery Kingdom will be one of the 2 parks to get it next year, because what I think they're doing is they're expanding that back area to be a superhero-themed area. They have, it's kind of a crummy area, I have to say. I'm not gonna lie, it's a bad area of the park, but it's getting better. Their new attractions are going over there, like the Joker. They just got Tsunami Soaker, which is fantastic. I love that park. I love everything about it except for that one area. That one area is like asphalt walkways. It's kind of ugly, Midway Games. I think what they'll do is once you pass what's it called? Tsunami Twister or Tsunami Soaker, it will become DC Universe, and they'll take out the go-karts back there, which were not very popular, and put a whole ton of family rides over there. So there'll probably be like a small like Superman Tower Power one that George is getting, the 65-foot drop tower, since they don't have that. Or we could actually see it go all the way to... We could actually see the retheme of Tsunami Soaker. That would be nice. Maybe like an Aquaman ride. Maybe change it to Aquaman and have it extend all the way down to V2 and then retheme V2 also. That might be a stretch, but I think the small area will happen soon. I think that will happen next year. So let's read some of the comments. Maybe. I could see Justice League coming in 2017. There is that back building next to Green Lantern and Tidal Wave. I think Tidal Wave would be taken out for that ride to expand that building, because the building is big, but it's not big enough. And there's a perfect spot for an entrance because they used it as a Fright Fest maze like 2 years ago and beyond that, as Lecter's Slaughterhouse and Insanatorium, which were great mazes. I'm sad to see that they took it out. And they're not using it, but that might be why they took it out, is because maybe they're gutting that building. Very interesting. Bugs Bunny Strata. That's interesting. I don't know if I'd want to see that. No. Okay. Looping water slide at an action park. Yeah. Oh yeah, let's how about we talk about Fright Fest? Fright Fest. Magic Mountains is quite disappointing this year, I think. Could have been better. They didn't get any new mazes, and on top of not getting any new mazes, they took out a maze, so they're down a maze. So they don't have as many mazes as they did last year. The scare zones haven't really improved. There's been like a few. There's like one in the Screampunk district, which will probably be cool. They're replacing Total Darkness will be a Halloween version of Quirk. That's their show that's in that theater that Total Darkness usually uses. Sadly, that won't be returning though, which is like one of their best mazes. But they'll have a show, and hopefully that will be worth it. And then they're doing like, some other stuff like Twisted Colossus in the Dark, Fear, which is just full throttle in the dark. Then the interesting one is they're not bringing back X2 Area 19. That has been popular for a long time. I think they've done it ever since X2's open. They changed the audio, and it's just awesome. They add alien theming into the line, so it's like you get abducted by aliens. And the government's trying to shoot you down, actually. That's the whole theme of X2 Area 19. And it had awesome music. It was just fantastic. Now it's going into X2. It's turning into X2 Satan's Domain. I'm assuming that means it will be heavy metal music on the ride. That's just what I think of when I think of like the devilish ride. I think it's gonna have like heavy metal music. But it'll be interesting. I will give a full review on it. I will be honest about it. If it's better than Area 19, I'm going to say it. If it's not, I'm going to say it. I'm just going to be honest about it. As of now, I like Area 19 better. I think that's a cooler theme. They've already done the Devil theme before. They have Vault 666 and Demon's Door. They don't need another one like that. I think Area 19 is the best that they one of the best themes in the park for Fright Fest. Another thing that's returning is the back area of the park. It's in the front, but it's in that back lot, I mean. They have 3 mazes in there. They've always had one maze back there, which was Jokester's Hideout. I never understood why they didn't just call it Joker's Hideout. They have the rights to it. And then they changed it to Toys of Terror, which is the exact same thing, except it's people dressed up as evil teddy bears. Then they introduced 2 fantastic mazes last year. They were phenomenal. Best 2 mazes I've ever been in. I think those 2 mazes made me like Magic Mountain's Fright Fest better than both Knott's Berry Farm and Universal. I'm saying it. Those mazes were so well done. They were so well themed, so scary. They crushed everything that Knott's and Universal did. I'm sure most people will disagree with me. I'm sure I'm going to get some hate comments in there. So that maze is really well themed, and it's huge for its building it's in. Its building is tiny, and it feels like it's a mile long. It's in the back of the Full Throttle, that building where the Full Throttle merchandise is, and the High Octane Wings and Loaded Dogs, where that restaurant is, and those restaurants in the store. It's in the back behind that, and that's not a very big. It's a good-sized building, but half of it is being occupied right now. So they really use that building well. It's themed incredibly. I actually do get scared in that maze. I don't get not scared, but I do. I will admit I jump. I have jumped a few times in that maze, which I don't do in a lot of mazes. I think that's by far the scariest in the park. By far the scariest maze I've been in. Probably that will be taken away when I go to the Fright Dome this year. But that's a great maze, great theming, great story. It could be better, but the way it's laid out is pretty good. Like the way it works as you go through the maze is quite well done. And then Red's Revenge. I always thought this was just weird that theme parks have started like getting these really weird themes for their Halloween mazes. Like Knott's did it with Pinocchio, and I'm like, just why? Why Pinocchio? Who thought that was a good idea? So what's what kind of maze? What kind of theme do we want for a maze this year for Scary Farm? Oh yeah, let's go with the lovable Pinocchio. You know, they have that great little Pinocchio ride at Disneyland, like 5 miles away. Let's completely ruin everyone's childhood. It was that. By the way, that maze is okay, not great, but I always thought that was weird. Red's Revenge is no exception. Very weird. More well done than Pinocchio Unstrung. The best themed maze I've been in. Well, at least at Six Flags. I'm not gonna say best yet. I think Voodoo at Knott's was the best. So yeah, Red's Revenge was pretty good. It had similar feel to Voodoo. Not quite as good though. Kind of different. Pretty scary. Not as scary as 666. Very long maze. Very windy. Very remote. It's actually by Flashback. It's actually in that old area where Flashback was, pretty much. Like behind that It's in the old, I think it was used for storage for the old monorails. I think that's what it was for. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was there. And you have to go all the way back. It's behind the Carrot Theater, I think it's called. The Carrot Club Theater in Bugs Bunny World, which is pretty far away from, like, Full Throttle, really. So you have to walk all the way back there to get to it, and it's kind of like a thin, weird pathway, and it looks like they actually are going to add lights back there this year, so you can actually see what's going on and not trip over everything. I did see them add, like, truss structures, which are like stage structures, kind of, but they're just like one pole, and they're going to add LEDs to it, probably. I'm looking forward to Fright Fest. What happened to the Sky Ride at Magic Mountain? I'm assuming you mean the Sky Tower. Sky Tower is not up to code right now. It's probably going to cost a lot to fix it, assuming it can be fixed, because it's pretty old. Footers are cracked in it, like huge cracks down the footers on it. It's not in good shape. I'm not going to lie. It's not in good shape. It's kind of become an eyesore for Valencia. I love it, yet I hate it. It's so iconic, yet it's so faded and it's so worn down that it's just so ugly. I was hoping this year, like along with Revolution, they should repaint it. At least I would be satisfied if they did that. It's great at the top. Last time I was up there, felt really unstable and wobbly, and I love that. It's like being on the top of Drop of Doom when it starts swaying when Superman goes up. It's awesome. Like, it's like if you stand still, you kind of like feel like you're gonna fall over. You kind of have to get like near the window to hug it so you don't fall over. And you can definitely see like the shadow on the ground like move back and forth, so you can actually see yourself swaying. But you get great 360-degree views. It's kind of like the Eiffel Tower at KI, which is pretty cool, but KI's is kind of weird. I didn't like how it was at the top. It was very tiny. Like, there's no space at all at the top. It wasn't indoors. Just had these weird, like fence around it. I thought it was kind of disgusting. I think that's also kind of worn down, too, is the KI Eiffel Tower. I think that looked ugly. It needs to be repainted. It needs to be refurbished, just like Sky Tower. Yeah, but you had huge room. You had a huge amount of room up in the Sky Tower, and it used to be a museum, and then they took it down, and now Sky Tower is completely closed. But you got 360-degree views around the whole park. It was great. You could stay up there pretty much as long as you want, as long as they had more than like one operator. If they had an operator at the top of the tower, you could stay up there as long as you want. Okay, he says, not Sky Tower. Sky Ride. Oh, Eagle's Flight. Yes, Eagle's Flight. Yes. That was an old attraction. I was not born when that was open. When that was still open. That's an oldie but goodie. Oh, man. I've seen pictures of that thing. That thing is... That looked awesome. Its station is kind of like where Goliath is now. And it travels the exact path Superman is now. That's why it's gone. It went all the way to where Willoughby's Garden of Darkness is. That's what that building is, if you didn't know. On the side where Superman is, you can actually see where it used to go in and then out. Then it would go out towards the right to kind of like where the theater is, that huge theater that they don't use anymore except for Fright Fest for Aftermath. So yeah, that looked pretty cool. I always have a fear of those sky rides. I hate like getting in them. I hate the rush of getting into them. But they are fun. I do. They're pretty cool. But I always have this fear that the people I'm always with, they always try to shake it a little bit, and that scares me. They did that at Cedar Point, and I'm just like, I don't like that. They had a lot of great attractions back in the day, and they still do today, but they were more flat ride oriented. And I'm sad to see them go. They used to have one of those Husk Condors by Viper, like where the Chupacabra maze is. That looked pretty cool. They used to have the Galaxy. It was this crazy huge flat ride. Had like 4 different wheels on it. Hold on, I gotta my cat's at the door. I gotta let him out. He's gonna annoy and bother me while I'm doing this. Okay. So, yeah, they had some great rides back in the day. Let's see. See something about Gerstlauer. Have my recording software in the way. Gerstlauer was spotted working on the Smiler. My thoughts to that? Well, as we figured out, it was proven to be human error. Smiler will reopen. I'm 99% sure of that. There's the 1%, of course, that they're like, it's never going to reopen. We can't reopen it because publicity. But I think they'll reopen it. I don't think it'll be rethemed. I think the fact that Gerstlauer is working right now means that they're trying to fix everything and get everything back up and running. Because it's been down for a while, so I'm assuming things need maintenance, things need, bolts tightened, maybe the cars are being reconstructed, the ones that were in the accident. But I think that's great. I think it may reopen next year. I don't think it will reopen for their Fright Nights, or whatever they call it there, Scare Fest, I think it's called. I don't think it will open for that, but I do think it will open soon. Is that true? Did Alan actually get hit by a car and died? No, he didn't. That's lying. You're lying. I gotta check that. I don't see anything about it on Instagram. I think Instagram would have had a freak out over that. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna say it's real or freak out over that. I'm gonna keep looking while I'm talking. I'm on my phone right now. I'm trying to find Facebook. Facebook usually will have the information I need. Because I follow The Great Park Journey, California Coaster Kings, and Coaster Guy. Great guys, they will probably post it immediately if that happens. They'll probably get word of it before anyone else. Actually, I'm going to check Theme Park Review. They'll probably have the first information on it. Theme Park Review. They would have tweeted it if it happened, I think. Yeah, I don't see anything about Alan Schulke dying in a car crash. I don't think that's true. If it did, though, I'm sad, and that saddens me. If that is true, I'm not going to say it is or it's not, but if it is true, that is very sad. He's obviously done a lot of great things in his life, but really, that's just a rude joke. Come on. Okay, but anyway, let's actually use that and talk about Alan Schulke. I hear Alan Schulke is actually going to retire soon. I feel sad. He's had a long and good career. I think he started off with Tennessee Tornado. Correct me if I'm wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was Tennessee Tornado was his first coaster, which was the Great Arrow Looper. I hear it's supposed to be really smooth for an Arrow. What else? Well, he created X, which I Not a big fan of X. I like it. I will admit I like it, but I don't love it. I respect it as a prototype. I do not respect it as a ride in itself. I think it's a bumpy piece of crap, honestly. It's a great concept. I don't like the layout. I think I just have respect for it because it's a prototype. But nonetheless, he's a genius. I would have never come up with the idea of the fourth rail, the third and fourth rail system of spinning the seats. That is absolutely genius. Like his ride, he looks just as crazy as his rides. I mean, no offense to him, but he is a genius with his rides. He is an absolute genius. That's why I like his creations more than anything else. That's why I usually find B&M coasters to be kind of because they're so average. Most of them. I'm not going to say all of them. I do like Diamondback. I'm not going to lie. I do really like Diamondback. But I usually tend to like his designs. I think X2 could have been much better if it was smoother, and just did more. It didn't do enough flips for me to be interested that it was a 4D coaster. It did like 2, and I never really thought it felt like a 4D coaster except for the first drop in that upwards hill. That's why I kind of like the free spinning ones better, like Green Lantern, because you really get that spinning feeling on them, and that air time on it. You get the ejector air on the drops. It's fantastic. But I love his designs, and I'm probably going to ride Lightning Rod in spring or summer once I get a job at Magic. I'm still 15 for another month and a half, and then I can be I can get hired to be a ride-op, and it should be pretty easy to get hired there this time of year because they need all their summer employees are gone now, so off season will be great time I think to get hired. So yeah, I actually could have been an employee there when I was 14. Well, I did try, just very hard to get into the Six Flags company when you're 14. They'll always take 16 kids ages 16 and above for if they have enough 16-year-olds, they'll always take them over the 14, 15-year-olds. Always. No matter how good they are, they'll always take them over it. Just because they're unexperienced. If they absolutely need them, they will hire them, but they rarely do. So I was not lucky enough to get the job, but I was lucky enough not to get the job because I realized all I could do was food service, and I really didn't want to do that. Vekoma Giga. Oh. Well, actually, Vekoma Giga would be good today, I think. Vekoma builds smooth rides today. They use magnetics. Magnetic brakes. They're very high tech today. I feel like just because a lot of their older rides like SLCs get bad rap, so does the company today, and that's not true. Look at Battlestar Galactica. Battlestar Galactica is supposed to be one of the coolest coasters ever built. That would be cool though. Expedition Everest. Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Those are all great Vekoma coasters. They're great. I think Vekoma could build great rides. They just don't get that opportunity, and I'm very saddened by that. I never had problems with SLCs. I love Vekoma. I never understood why people thought they were super painful. I was scared to actually ride it the first time because I thought, oh my gosh, I've never experienced something this bad probably. And no, I actually think Viper's bumpier than the SLC I rode, at least. People say Kong at Discovery Kingdom is pretty bad and like one of the worst ones. I think it wasn't bad at all. The people I went with, yeah, they complained about it, but I was like, it's not bad to me. Not much worse than Viper. Actually, not worse at all. Not worse than Viper. I love Kong. I think it's great. I think they're very intense. If you can get over the pain, same with Green Lantern, First Flight. If you can get over the pain, or you don't find pain in the ride, you're gonna love it. I think. I love how forceful the Vekoma SLCs are. Are they the best coasters I've ridden? Not by a long shot. I still will give Kong a ride at least once or twice every time I'm there. Same with the boomerang. Same with Vekoma boomerangs. I love boomerangs. I really do love boomerangs. I love the one at Knott's Berry Farm because it's been refurbished recently, ever since it was painted like the lime green, which is beautiful, by the way. Super smooth, much smoother than the one at Discovery Kingdom. The one at Discovery Kingdom is still pretty fun, but Knott's Berry Farms is like butter smooth. So I love that one. I actually like that better than anything else in that park, honestly. I like the old rides at Knott's, like the older ones, like Montezuma. I like Montezuma and Boomerang more than Silver Bullet and Accelerator. I know. I'm strange. Well, actually, I like it more than Accelerator because after you ride Dragster, Accelerator is just like... Accelerator lost its value to me after riding Dragster back in 2011. That lost all its value to me. Let's see. Yes, I would agree T3 is better than Banshee. I did not like Banshee that much. I'm sure a lot of you know I have a back problem right now. It's because I literally will marathon coasters all the time. I'm pretty much coaster addicted. I actually haven't ridden a coaster in over a week. I'm proud of that. It's almost like as bad as like getting hooked on drugs or alcohol. I'm literally hurting myself by riding so many coasters that my rides, like some rides, the seats have like a strange design, and however they're designed, they irritate my back. And Banshee and Gatekeeper are a few of those rides. Gatekeeper wasn't too bad because Gatekeeper's not forceful. Banshee is borderline forceful, so there's some points where it gets up to probably 3.5 Gs. That's when it starts to hurt. I actually did not think Banshee had that great of a layout. I didn't start feeling pain until the pretzel loop. That's a little over halfway through the ride. Before that, I didn't feel that much pain, so I could actually say the beginning of the ride was very lame. It's very average for an invert. So, yeah, I would take T3 over Banshee. Mostly because the pain that I received from that ride. And I think Vekoma SLCs are more fun. I'm gonna just say it. I think they're more intense and twisty. I don't like standard like B&Ms like that. I like B&M hybrids. That's the only B&M I've absolutely loved when I've ridden it. No, I'm not gonna take Flying Ace Aerial Chase over Dragster. Sorry, not today. That was... I understand why they call that a hang and bang. That was pretty bumpy. I'm not gonna lie with that one. It seems like all the family coasters are really, really bumpy. I didn't bang my head at all, but I can definitely see if you're smaller sized, like a kid, which they're meant for, you'll bang your head. You'll get a hang and bang. I rode front row, so I'm assuming that's the smoothest row on it, so I'm assuming if you sit back, you're really screwed. Okay, I think that's enough with the... Oh my gosh, Speedy Gonzales over Fury. Gosh, okay, you guys can really stop with that. Yeah, I'll take full throttle over Woodstock Express, thank you. Gigas. Gigas. I could give a crap about Gigas. I don't care if they're 300 feet, 200 feet, 100 feet, 400 feet. They could be whatever height. I don't care. I feel Wicked Cyclone is just as good as Fury. I mean, some people like Wicked Cyclone over Fury. I know a lot of you are going to get on my butt about that, but it was voted best coaster of 2015. I almost forgot what year it was. So I'm going to have to say a 100-foot coaster can be just as good as a 300-foot coaster. So Gigas, I don't care about. Magic Mountain could install a Giga, I don't care. I don't necessarily want them to. I don't think it would be a great fit. I would rather see them tear down Goliath and build a standard B&M Hyper because we don't have a floater. California does not have good floater, except on Manta, but that's a mixture of floater and ejector. So we don't have a pure floater coaster. That's what we need. That's why I'm really disappointed with Goliath every time I ride it, because out of all parks to get one, like, California has, like, no airtime, so of course they have to get Goliath, which has no airtime. It's just... I wish they would have gone with a B&M Hyper. Even a really lame one would just be nice. We need floater. Need some floater. I love Diamondback. It became my 9th favorite ride. Everyone was telling, or well, not everyone. Actually, no, it was like half and half. Half of the people were telling me it was lame because it was an ejector error, and the other half was saying it was amazing and it was going to be like in your top 5. Well, it's not top 5 worthy. Definitely in my top 10. It's my number 8 behind Superman Ultimate Flight. I love Diamondback. I wish they would have got something like Diamondback instead of Goliath. I think they were cheap to get Goliath. Goliath they probably got for a really, really good price, which is why it sucks. So yeah, I would not be opposed to... I wouldn't be opposed to a Giga, but yet I don't necessarily want it. Oh, the other thing I wanted to talk about is everyone's saying Magic Mountain will get a Giga, and I'm laughing. I laughed on that announcement, not in the live stream, I don't think, but after the live stream, I laughed at all the fanboys thinking Giga's coming this year, or well, it's almost 2016. It's close enough to me for me to be saying this year. So yeah, that won't be happening, I don't think, for a while. Oh, yes, by far, Canyon Blaster, not the one at Adventuredom, the one at Magic Mountain, the little kids coaster, has ejector error. I would take Canyon Blaster over Goliath. That's how pathetic Goliath is. I'm not kidding. I'm going to have to say Fury 325 over I-305. Mostly because, well, as I would think, the layout is very different, and from what I've heard, and also from what I've seen, Intimidator is much more intense. Well, Fury isn't exactly like super intense. I hear it's somewhat intense, but it's kind of more flowy, opposed to Intimidator. Intimidator has those tight twists and non-stop ejector. Well, like Fury, it's like, okay, slight twist, airtime, slight twist, airtime. But it's very long and laid out and elaborate. But I would have to choose that because I love the way because it is technically a B&M Hyper. I know what the kind of feeling of a B&M Hyper is. It is technically a B&M Hyper because it is a hyper breed. It is a Giga, but it's a Hyper, if you get what I mean. It's there's really nothing different from a Hyper and a Giga except for its height. I mean, yeah, you could say its layout is more ejector-based than floater-based, but it's still a Hyper. But it's at Giga height. So, yeah, I like the feeling of that more than Maverick, and Maverick is probably the closest thing that I think can compare to I-305 that I've ridden. And I would take Diamondback over Maverick, honestly. I thought Maverick was good, but I don't like the restraints. Very uncomfortable. So yeah, that's mainly why I would take it over. I would take Fury over that. El Toro or Apocalypse? El Toro! Apocalypse is like no contest. Come on. Apocalypse. Come on, Apocalypse is like one of the worst GCIs. I'm not a big fan of Apocalypse, though I do disagree that when people say it's bumpy, I don't think it's bumpy. I think it's really smooth, actually. Not as smooth as like the original Colossus. Like Colossus, not Twisted, just Colossus was incredibly smooth. Smoothest wooden coaster I've ridden. The Beast is smoother than Apocalypse, but it's not super smooth. It's not... Apocalypse isn't super smooth, but it's not bumpy. It's kind of like in between. It's like decent. I have had better rides on Roar, like smoother rides, but I never thought it was super bumpy. After you ride Ghost Rider and Mean Streak, nothing feels bumpy anymore. TC or Wicked Cyclone. I go back and forth on this. I have not ridden Wicked Cyclone. I've heard great reviews of it, and it seems to get pretty close in ties usually when people debate over it. Obviously, Twisted Colossus was designed more for the families. It's a family thrill. Wicked Cyclone is a full-on thrill coaster, but as thrilling as they can make it be. It's supposed to be super intense, non-stop airtime, while Twisted is like, okay, we're going to give you the same airtime quality, or at least on a few hills, but we're going to kind of spread it out so you get some, like, break. So it's not, like, one after another airtime. It's kind of just like, airtime. Well, Wicked Cyclone is airtime. So yeah, they're very different, so it's hard to actually compare them. And it's a dueling coaster. It's meant for the dueling. So when it duels, it's 10 times better than it actually, like, just is riding it without it dueling. It's 10 times better. It makes the whole ride. I would say if it's dueling, I would take Wicked Cyclone, because I see what Magic Mountain did with Twisted Colossus. I would actually say is magical in a way. I saw what they did. People have so much fun riding Twisted Colossus when it duels, especially when the other car's catching up on the lift. People are like, trying to wave at people like, come on, get up faster. I always find that so much fun. And everyone's always trying to, like, reach out and touch each other on the trains. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And there's just something about that that's just so beautiful about it that Wicked Cyclone does not offer. So if it duels, I would totally take Twisted over it. But by itself, the ride itself, I would take Wicked Cyclone. That's the best I could say. They're pretty much equal, but they're different. So, yeah. Worst ride at Magic. Ninja, by far. Yep. Hate Ninja. Now, I'd say TC's airtime actually is pretty good. You guys are saying it's not that. It depends where you sit. If you sit in row 1, 6, and 11, you get fantastic airtime on the majority of hills. Yes, of course, there's like I'm trying to think about how many, 5 really good moments of airtime. Other than that, I don't think the airtime is as good as people say it is. I think there's only a few good moments, on the the blue side before the high five is amazing. The blue underneath the Top Gun stall is amazing, and then the double up is good. Other than that, I have to say the airtime is a bit mediocre. Honestly, the airtime is a little bit mediocre on Twisted. All the Californians were like, "Oh my god, we got the best airtime coaster ever," and I don't necessarily agree. The first time I rode it, I came off and I go, I actually think Manta has better airtime. Manta at SeaWorld San Diego, I think that has better airtime. I think Manta has the best airtime in California. I'm not gonna lie. I think that might be overthrown by the Joker, but as of now, I would say Manta has the best airtime in California. It's so overlooked. I really love Manta. back row, front row is just amazing on it. It's just overall experience of Manta is amazing. And I actually think the airtime on full throttle is, I would take that, oh no, trust me, that's not all floater. That is not all floater. It's the way those hills look that make it look like floater, but I'm actually, I can tell that it's actually ejector. It's just really long moments of ejector that look like floater. But it will be floater if you sit front row. It's the way the hills are designed. The ways the hills are designed on the Joker kind of have like an odd, really sharp curve at the top. So I feel like if you sit in the middle, you're not going to catch airtime, but in the front, you will catch ejector. Or back. But I think, yeah, they have like different, the hills have a different design than others. But I kind of hope a few hills are just floater, like good floater, like hyper floater. But I don't think that will happen. Dang, have I been talking for over an hour? Wow. I thought it's been like 5 minutes. Well, anyway, I'm going to finish off with this statement. I think the Joker looks great. Twisted Colossus, the airtime on Twisted Colossus isn't as good as people say. And I still think Manta has the best in California. It has a great mix of floater and ejector, and I would take that. I would honestly like the airtime better on Manta, but I like Twisted I like Twisted better for obviously other reasons other than just airtime. Mostly the racing. So yeah, that's pretty much it, and I will like to say full throttle, that one moment of ejector on full throttle is better than any hill on Twisted. Any airtime hill, I would say. That's a very overlooked drop. If you sit back row, you're flying out of your seat. I get bruises from the ride just riding it once on my legs because of the airtime. So, okay, we'll finish up with one more question. Actually, you know what? Comment your questions below. I'll answer 3. Comment your questions below, and I'll finish off with that. Carnan or the Smiler? I'm gonna have to go with the Smiler. Reason being is because the Smiler is almost like a dueling coaster. It's pretty much like a dueling coaster. It's like Twisted, but you get all these cool inversions, and there's a few airtime moments in there I hear too. Gosh, it's just so disorienting looking, and it looks like a fantastic ride. I really want to ride it. So, anyone else have opinion on Tatsu? Tatsu. Okay, so this is from Fat Mike 371. Opinion on Tatsu. Sorry it's your favorite ride, but I'm going to have to say I think it's pretty mediocre for what it is. It's supposed to be one of the best B&M flyers, and I never get that much enjoyment out of it. I find it uncomfortable. I find it to be really short. I feel like it's, in a way, it's shorter than Full Throttle. I mean, think about it from the lift hill to the brakes. It's probably about the same, actually, but it feels much shorter. I don't like it that much. I always feel uncomfortable in it. I don't get an adrenaline rush. I kind of like yawn on it. Yes, I would say Manta over Tatsu. Actually, the flying coaster I enjoyed more, though, than Tatsu is the Vekoma laydown coasters. I love that. I loved Firehawk. Firehawk was fantastic. It was smooth. It was just as smooth as Tatsu is. I thought it was much better. I thought you get a more flying sensation. You're not feel like you're locked in super tight. What about Switchback? My opinion on Switchback? Okay, Switchback I think is interesting. Not loving the design. I'm not loving that they're calling it the steepest wooden roller coaster. because it's not wooden, it's hybrid. It is the steepest if it would be wooden, but it's not wooden, it's hybrid. Goliath or Ninja? Goliath. At least Goliath has some thrill to it and doesn't end with a lift hill to the station. Anything else good? Yeah, I would agree. Starry Sky Ripper is probably the best flyer. B&M flyer. I'm not going to say overall best flyer because I feel that a lot of B&M's designs are not as good as people say they are. But that one actually does look pretty good. It almost follows in the Vekoma layout, so that's why I kind of like it. Yet, it's still a B&M flyer, so it's not going to be as forceful, I don't think. Because I love Firehawk. I can't get over how great that was. Slow operations, but it was just absolutely amazing. So I think I'm gonna end off this week's GAC Podcast. Thanks to everyone who is viewing it live. Also, you'll be able to view it again. It is gonna take a while to get on YouTube, especially since it's an hour long. So yeah, it will be posted to YouTube so you can see it again. Okay, thanks everyone for viewing, and I'll see you next week.